Hey everyone, let's talk a little bit about reading speed and how little effect that actually has on how fast you finish your book. Now, if you're like me, you know how fast you read on average per hour. I am a slow reader, so I know that I read an average of 20 pages per hour. Basically, I count 100 pages as 5 hours and 210. And you need to find the time for that. So that is basically the book math I do when I pick up a book, especially when I'm stressed and I have a lot to do. So that is a factor that always counts into my calculations on how long I will need to read a certain book. But that's not the only factor. Yes, I can read sometimes 30 or 40 pages an hour, but that depends a lot on the book. So if it's not as complicatedly written, so YA or middle grade, you can read faster. The same with character-driven or plot-driven books, you read at different pace. But on average, the 20 pages per hour is pretty stable for me. What's not stable is how long I can sit down to read. And that is something I always underestimate. I never really factor in that the amount of time I want to spend with one book at a time has an effect on how long it will take me to get through the book. For example, sometimes I can read 3-4 hours at a time, sitting down, not wanting to put the book aside. Other times I need a break every other hour because either I need to digest what I read or I'm just not into the book that much that I really want to continue reading. So, you know when books are not bad, but you don't really feel compelled to read and read and read. And that has a huge impact on the amount of time I need to finish a book. Yes, it's always probably the same amount of hours, but the amount of hours I spend per week really depends on the book. Say, I have a book that I really like and I really want to know what's going to happen next, and I love the writing and I love the characters, the story, everything. I can sit down for hours and I find time to read when I normally wouldn't read. But if I have a book where that's an okay book, I like what's going to happen, but I'm also okay putting it aside and getting other things done, then sometimes other things take the priority to reading that book. So I pick up the book less often and thus spend more time with the book, to a point sometimes where I'm annoyed of having to read the book because it's not that I don't like it, but I also want to have it done because I don't love it that much that I actually enjoy spending so much time with it. Which is a paradox, isn't it? The books I really enjoy, I tend to spend less time with because I just fly through them. But the books that are just okay and not giving me as much, I spend more time with because I need longer to finish them. That is insane and unfair. I don't really have a solution or a point to that. It's just something I noticed recently, that sometimes I find myself reading a book in a weekend and the same amount of pages for another book take me 2 weeks. And it's interesting, and I'm wondering if we factor that in when we calculate how long we need to read a book, when we do our TBRs, our Goodreads goals, and our overall ideas of how many books we can read. And yeah, I want to know if I'm the only one who's doing that. Have you experienced that you have different motivations of picking up a book and thus read some books faster than others? I have to say I'm not good at skimming, so I have to read everything. And I cannot stop sub-vocalizing as well, so reading books faster that I don't enjoy that much is usually not possible for me that way. I know some people do that. Also, tell me in comments if you can do that and if that's a way for you to just get through a book that you think is okay. It's not a bad book, but it's not one you really enjoy having around. Let's talk in comments about reading speed, book math, and all the fun things. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.